Zdaj bom po slovensko povedala. Evo, še zadnji del današnjega študijskega dne. Hvala, ker ustrajate do konca. Zdaj bo pa naš kolega Matej Vajda vodil okroglo mizo z gosti. Imamo študentko, magistrantko psihologije. Imamo, ja, imamo magistro psihoterapije. Imamo drugina. In imamo seveda gosta Jochema Willemsena in Hubert de Condé. Please have a good time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
It's actually a half around the table, so I hope it still works. So yeah, I was thinking about this discussion today, and was very inspired by your talks, but also previously inspired by Nina's summary of her experience, and from Kai I know very little, so I think we can start maybe with our guests. Do you agree? Yeah. Okay, great. So what I was really wondering about, and I wrote you too also beforehand, was actually how to connect these two topics that we have today for this study day, right? So professional and personal development, and this is also your research topic, but of course you're also both psychotherapists, which means you also went through some kind of probably personal development as well. So maybe I was thinking if we could start with maybe like a short story, summary of your beginnings. How has your psychotherapy path started? What led you to it, and wherever you want to start, or however much you want to tell. Everything that is said here stays here. Except for the camera.
So my beginning as a therapist, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because there were two questions, like my beginning, but also what motivates me to become.
Well, yeah, well, we can start with, why did you decide for psychotherapy?
Several things. Well, at first, when I was a teenager, I realized that I was a good listener, and I was very curious, and I wanted to understand and help my relatives and also my friends, and also I realized that people would easily talk to me and share secrets, and was like, I transmit this trust without just being by myself. I think that was what motivates me the most at first, I'd say. Or to study psychology, because I studied psychology first, and then it became more and more coherent to when I had this course of clinical psychology introduction, and then more and more I was inclined to and open to cultural sensitivity, spirituality, religiosity, every different variable that would maybe meet in my future job, and then I wanted to study psychotherapy to understand better in an advanced way how to really help actually people, meet them where they are, and I would say that's basically the key.
So if I understood it correctly, you're a person-centered therapist?
That's or no, yes, for now. Let's say I am. No. At first, I am trained as integrative psychotherapist, but it was more CBT theories at first. So it was CBT's systemic and person-centered, no psychoanalysis aspects, and I realized during that training that I was not CBT approach didn't fit with what I was actually learning or what I was doing when I was meeting patient clients, and also I realized that personal development was not. It was just apart from that, and it was not. Didn't talk about this, and actually that's when I realized that I wanted to search on it. And then after 2 years of PhD as a PhD student, I finished the first training, and I chose to be trained as a person-centered therapist. It's not yet finished, but I'm very glad that I chose this way. And it was clear as a master's student, I was sure to follow that road. But at first, I wanted to explore all of the other approaches to be sure which one I would choose. It's very important for me to be free and not just follow a road without knowing the others.
Great, yeah. I see we have some similarities along the way, yeah. Okay, thank you. Jochem, would you want to?
So I studied clinical psychology first. I wanted to study psychology because I got interested in psychoanalysis, actually. And so I went to a university where they had good psychoanalysis teachers. And so that got me, I was also interested back then in doing research, but quite quickly I focused on psychoanalysis during my master and with the internship, etc. And then after that, had the opportunity to start working at university. I worked for a while in an institution with youngsters too, but then actually quickly shifted to a university. And then returned to this interest in research, let's say. So I studied psychology in clinical psychology, not in the first place to become a therapist. Actually, at that point, that was not yet on my radar. I was just interested in psychoanalysis, wanted to learn more about it, and then continued actually to work in a department of psychoanalysis also for my PhD. But while I was there, I had the opportunity to start a psychotherapy training there at the department. Of course, psychoanalysis, it's always in you're always thinking about cases and thinking about clinical situation and clinical problems. So it's very clinical oriented. I started to do the training a bit. Not at that point, not yet with a conviction of what I would be doing later on. Psychotherapy training in psychoanalytic psychotherapy, combined also with the personal therapy, psychoanalysis. And then, I think I grew gradually into it, the idea that I would do clinical work. And I remember that actually there was first the patient and then only my practice. I remember at one point receiving a request to see a patient. I was by then at the end of my advanced in my training, and then I said, okay, let's do this, and then I made arrangements and then got into it very quickly. So it wasn't a plan from the start, and now I've been working as a psychoanalytic psychotherapist for 15 years, something like 15 years, next to my academic work, because I do full-time teaching and research, which I absolutely love to do. Teaching is also really something that I like. But the clinical work has become really part of that, integrated with that, and that's how it makes so much more sense to combine all of those. So now I'll continue to do that in any case. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Nina, you wrote a really interesting summary, like I mentioned before, at the end of your studies, and published it on Facebook so everybody could see it. This was also partly an inspiration why we invited you, because it was really, really nicely written. So if you could maybe summarize your feelings that brought you to writing that for the audience,
Yeah. Yeah. So if we take a step back, I also want to share maybe what was my motivation to start this path. It's a story that begins when I was in my teenage years, when I was facing a really hard time myself and in my family. And what I found at that time was that one teacher from my school noticed that I was like dealing with some troubles and started talking to me. So simple, but it was this experience that actually inspired me to start thinking about this possible path in my life. So I wanted to be on the other side. I wanted to be someone who can listen to others and make this as a life purpose, actually. And so my first decision was to study psychology, and I got in, and I was really happy about that. Because at that time it was really difficult to enter this study. And after 2 years, I realized that this would not help me in what I was dreaming about to do. I found very interesting what your lecture, because I felt in a way that I was put in a box, in a thinking box, which was made just out of theory, numbers, statistics, and that was it. And it was really difficult to then take a decision to leave this path and search for something else, which at the time I didn't know that existed, something else. But then I found out that there is a psychotherapy faculty. So I took a turn in my life and started here. And it was really interesting how after a really short time I realized that I was in the right place. So I felt it very deeply because of the different approach, of the personal approach, and all the professors came from practice. So there were a lot of studies, like case studies presented, which I missed before, and a lot of discussions between us. So we got to know each other, even on a deep level, and share experiences and grow together. And I think that it was the best thing that happened in my life, actually.
Wow. It's a big statement.
I know, but it is. I feel it because somehow it was a really long path. We know that there are so many criteria that we have to satisfy over the years, but it has a sense that it's so long, I think. And so there is also this path of personal development that is occurring like on the other side, not just professional or academical or whatever. No, so I think that studying this also helped me in my personal life.
And this is the theme of today. So
yeah,
we're gonna get to that even more later. Thank you, Nina. Kaya, you're a student of psychology, third year?
Finishing my master's.
Finishing your master's, okay. What brought you to psychology?
Okay, maybe to start in high school, I was pretty sure that I'm gonna study medicine. And then there was one point that missed from me being enrolled into the faculty of medicine. And that was the time when I decided to take a year off. And in the meantime, I've met a lot of different people. People have opened up to me a lot. And in that meantime, I started to realize that I'm getting more and more interested into human interactions, communication, behavior. So that kind of led me to enroll in psychology then, and I was accepted. So I'm still grateful for that one missed point, that my path went in a different direction. So it turned out to be good.
Yeah, many of you actually mentioned this fit, right? I think you said it first, right? So how does this fit feel for you? How did you know you're in the right place? How did you know that this is it?
I think mostly when comparing to other people, to other colleagues that were at different faculties, and we were talking about our experiences, for example, at most in the first year of college, because still it's different from high school. And then you start to compare experiences, and many people were not satisfied with their choice. And I felt like I fit in there. I felt like I was interested in all the seminars and all the courses. I felt like I can use that knowledge in my personal life also. Started to realize a lot more things about myself, my family, the people surrounding me. And that's kind of how I knew that I was at the right place. So that made me confident in my choice.
Yeah. You also mentioned, Nina, you mentioned purpose and dream. What I was wondering is, Jochem, can you tell us a little bit more about your sort of maybe dream? Did you think you're going to be a psychologist when you were little?
No, not at all.
What was the dream?
When I was little?
Yeah.
Well, that's a different thing.
When did you know that you're going to, when you're going to decide for psychology?
I had this interest I discovered through reading philosophy and psychoanalysis. That was really it for me, and I intentionally chose a university where I knew there was good where psychoanalysts teaching, and I went to study with them really. There was also all the other stuff. Let's say the statistics and for which I had an interest in a broader sense. But let's say the most clinical and relatable part of the course was in this case for me psychoanalysis, and I could relate a lot of what was being taught to myself. It made sense, and there were also key experiences, key teachers. I remember certain moments. At one point, for instance, being shown the movie Rashomon was in second year, the undergraduate. They screened it, and it was part of the course, and was quite an experience, and so that there's things stick, and then. So the dream was to be able to do something like that too.
So to be a samurai.
Or to pass on that kind of learning experiences to others, and to put it in practice in clinical work, to approach that in different ways, theoretically, research-wise. Work with patients.
Yeah. This is very. It reminds me what I stressed also before in my talk, right? So this contact with practice is very inspiring for a lot of psychotherapy students. So you mentioned this Rashomon. This is really interesting to me. What do you do? You two and you. What was your Rashomon moment in your studies? Something something memorable, something that sort of. Either you felt okay, I know I'm in the right place even more, like you, or something that made you I don't know, inspired even more? Any such moments? You're nodding. You also thought of something, yeah?
Go ahead.
I have one moment. Well, of course, I have several moments, but one of the moment was when I was strangely enough following this course. It was cultural anthropology, and I really at that moment I realized that it was my the way anthropology was described, the way that the anthropologist should go fully in the experience and then exit the experience and explain how it was for the anthropologist to go in and out and explain what is happening there. That's when I realized, well, psychologists would do the same. And at that moment, I think it was creates an insight in me, like I am where.
So there was a click.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, definitely. I felt that I was looking for a sense in my life, and I have it.
Oh, you found like purpose, like Nina said.
Yeah. I think it's kind of but I think that when I was 17, actually, I didn't mention it before, but I wanted to study something that was meaningful to me, that on values or broad sense, and I think that yes, definitely.
Yeah, for me, it was quite easy to find this moment because it came at the very beginning. Because I knew what I was missing before in my previous studies. So I remember that in the introductory seminar, which was experiential, I felt the power of group work, how much impact does it have on me and on the others, and it was really powerful. So I felt in the right place, and
It's also before, like the personal experience that you missed before was something that then you felt in group work. Really. Kai, you also have a moment like that?
Yes.
Feedback?
I do. In my first year, so just arriving to the college, we had that option to join a program called Mind the Mind. It's a program where you go to different high schools and just inform people and students about mental health and trying to reduce stigma. So I signed up for that right away. I felt like it was the right thing to do. And then me and another friend of mine went and did the first workshop. And the feeling after it, it's impossible to describe. The feedback from the students. And we got the feedback on these small little post-it notes. And I still have them up my wall because there was some positive feedback. This helped me. I really feel good. I think I see something in my sister or sibling or something, and I see that she needs help or something like that. And that was very motivating for me. And we still have those post-it notes. So I would say that was the most emotional one, maybe, of those moments. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, you all mentioned a lot of interesting things. Also, this group work, and made me think of what do you think was the influence of being in a group of other students, like-minded people, for your own, like this maybe professional or even study journey? Was this as important as it was for Nina, for all of you?
For me, it was the contrary.
Yeah.
I realized over the years that actually I didn't match with the people who were studying psychology. Most of the people didn't change much. They were as superficial as the others, and so I was quite frustrated. Why are they the good people? And but so there is this example, but on the other level, of course, this. During a master's, I had these experiential courses, and we did encounter groups, and at that moment, of course, I felt deep connection with other people, and I felt also change within my personal life, and that's when I also totally it fits with what you were saying. Yeah. So kind of, but I'm like that.
Yeah, we didn't have a group work in like experience or groups, or we didn't have that, and except for reading groups, we did have what we called close reading groups of key texts, older texts, difficult texts, and I did enjoy those very much, and a bit of the discovery, let's say, of being able, liking to teach, etc., was also made in those groups. For instance, that is definitely so. In that sense, groups did play a role for me in my development. But the other types of more experiential group, I actually never had in my training in clinical psychology. It was not part of the program.
What about later in the psychoanalysis training?
Neither. It's all personal therapy and the reading groups, yeah. But not, yeah.
Kai, you have something to add?
Well, during the first 3 years, maybe there was a lot of teamwork. Most of the seminars and everything was meant for us to work in teams. So I would say that it added another sense of power working with like-minded people that share the same passion. So I could maybe relate to that point, but further than that.
So we were talking about those two layers or two levels, the two parts, the personal and the professional development. If I pose more of a broad question and let's see what associations come up. How do you think in your life did one influence the other? Can you give some examples of where you see that sort of the professional path that you took, either in psychology or later in specialization, or for you maybe even in teaching, in academic work, or research, influenced your private life, your personal life, and vice versa? And for all of you, the same question, whoever wants to start.
I think it's more linked to personal events, experiences. I think it's the fact that I'm the older child in the family, so I was always there, and I'm still there to protect and to help my siblings. Also, I went to the scouts. There I was always protecting the little ones, explaining when they were afraid it was about a game, night game or night, like, stay with me, close to me, it will be fine. And I think those kind of events really made me who I am. And I think that's really, I would say it's the basic events that really leads me to a therapist. But of course there were several, but if I really have to go the first experiences, I would say that those two personal experiences were the most significant for me.
What about the other way around? How did your professional path, and now you're on a PhD, how does this influence your personal life? Also, have any memorable moments? Or
I found difficult actually to separate professional and personal lives.
that was my next question.
Because I don't have actually pure professional experiences. They were always linked to personal moment. So I don't know how to answer.
Okay.
Of course, they were professional experiences, but they were all. I volunteered for a lot of different associational projects, and of course, it influenced me as a person. My first clients, my different personal therapies. Well, I don't know. I could talk for hours. But
Okay.
Yeah, for me it's difficult to pinpoint, let's say, personal events or events in my personal life that would have put me on the track, because there's nobody in the family who's a psychologist. I never met a psychologist before I started to study. I was the first. So it was a bit of a, I just had this interest in Freud and started to go on that track. Of course, I find it difficult to say, really, to go back to what predisposed me to go on that track.
Is there something from either clinical psychology that you were, or then later psychoanalysis, or maybe the reading groups that you think had sort of maybe splashed over into your personal life? How do you also, maybe, like, we can go into this as well, as Hubert said, right? So this separation, how does this look with you? Do you talk to your loved ones about the Freud texts, or
Indeed.
or you do?
The fact that I wouldn't say annoy, but I speak to people like that all the time. And I find a partner who's also interested in all of the topics, which helps. And definitely it permeates the whole way of thinking about human relations, also in private life. I mean, your family relations, your parents, for instance, one thing. You look at them very differently once you have gone through that personal work and the study, and etc. Not that I analyze them constantly, but they remind you also all the time that you're a therapist or that you're a psychologist. They come with requests very soon during my studies. A niece is a bit unwell. What can you do? And can you talk with her? And so you get those invitations. So they remind you, and
Do they remind you also in the other direction? Don't be such a therapist.
Sometimes.
Sounds familiar.
Definitely, yeah. I come to think of it, certain members really, try to just.
Yeah, maybe what happened in the first year of psychotherapy studies is that I recognized that I was in a toxic relationship, and it also helped me to end this relationship after years and years of trying all sort of things to make things work. And so this was a really big step for me. And after some time, when I met my husband, I think it also helped me to stay in that relationship, which was very different from everything that I knew before. I think that probably if I didn't have this, this insight or knowledge, or I don't know how to call it, I would escape that relationship, which was too safe in a way. So I'm very grateful for that. And then also, after years and years of studies, life happens with all sorts of things. And I think that it prepared me to face some challenges in life, like the loss of my mother or the birth of my child, and to become a good enough mother, let's say, if you want to use this term. And also vice versa. I think that living also all sorts of experiences in personal life can enrich my therapy work. Of course, it is crucial, it was crucial that I went through my own therapy to process all these experiences. Otherwise, the experience per se wouldn't help, I think. Maybe it would be the opposite. I would be too much involved, you know. But yeah, I think it's...
You remind me of what I mentioned, and what also the research show how many events, life events, can happen during the studies, especially if it goes on for a bit longer, as it usually does.
Yeah.
What about you, Kaya? How do you see this professional personal interplay?
I'm gonna tailor it a bit to my situation. So if we start with the personal to professional, I could point. I'm currently working as an HR professional, so I develop and train people and so on. And here I can see mostly. I can also relate to being the oldest sibling, so having that type of taking care of everyone, being the responsible, the adult one, and also me being communicative, open. It has definitely helped me with, I don't know, arranging team buildings, having different trainings and stuff to be the one to provide that. And then in reverse, professional to personal, I would say if I relate it to the whole years of studying now, I would say that different courses that were psychodiagnostics or something like that, where we have different tests or questionnaires, it gave me a lot of insights into myself. I was the first subject, of course, where to do the psychodiagnostics and everything. And that has also given me the tools and stuff to maybe improve myself in certain areas to personally develop. So I think that was maybe one that I could pinpoint out right now at the moment.
Yeah, I can relate to analyzing oneself and so on. I remember also having the psychodiagnostics subjects and so on, and finding myself in all categories. It's very interesting.
Exactly.
So yeah, I already mentioned this sort of next question before about the balance, right? So I remember when we were in my first year in one thing that dragged me or drew me to even more to the studies was that I don't know who was lecturing, and they said that psychotherapy is a profession that requires lifelong learning, and I was sold. So that spoke to me in a personal way. But one of the consequences of that is also that then it's maybe harder to separate the profession and personal. And sometimes this, at least for me, maybe I'm speaking just for myself, and all of you don't have this problem. There's a problem of balancing, right? So how much when you're interested in everything and you want to do everything, then it's sort of the personal is sometimes is the victim. How is this in your life? You all have very busy lives, a lot of things that you do. How does this balance look in your lives? Again, whoever wants to start.
Yeah, I found interesting what you said before, that your partner also has interests in psychology, and so that you share all these things. For me, it's the contrary. Let's say no one in my family, and even my husband, is not from the field, and it helps me because it's so much easier for me to disconnect from my work and to come home and have normal conversations about normal life things, and yeah, I find it helpful. So I try not to bring all my I don't know, interests or cases or my work and studies in general. I try not to bring too much at home, and it helps me mentally to recharge.
I can relate to it. That it's necessary to find a way to put it leave it outside or take some distance or not to Yeah, so that's I think very important, and everyone has his own way, of course. One needs to find a way to in order to be able to continue in the profession and work with. I find a very useful way to talk about it. And, to talk about with my wife, for instance, about or to have those intervisions, etc. They really help to work with complex or clinical situations or etc. So for me, there is more permeation of the two, the personal and the professional. To the degree that my children even want to study psychology. And,
Yeah, but so that, for me, it's difficult to find balance. Balance into those two spheres. But I think that when I'm my personal private time, let's say, it's important for me to be either alone, really like recharging fully by not being disturbed or anything, and to let whatever I kept in me to express or to. But also in my interpersonal relationships, it's important for me to be listened to. And then I don't have to talk about what I heard, I don't like to talk about this with the people that are not related to the field. But in a way, I like to talk without talking about it. Like just saying it was a difficult day, or it was a very very interesting day, but still.
Yeah.
I need to sleep and to relax, and and this really helps. I think it's this, and also for me it's really important to to feed my imagination with other stuff than the real stuff, like virtual stuff, reading novels, watching movies. Yeah. But I must say, what I find the most difficult for me is to listen to my close ones, because the listening part sometimes it's a bit saturated. So I try to listen to, but at some point it's very hard. And I think that's I'm working on it. But yeah, what is it?
While still being a student, not yet a psychologist, I would say I have a pretty good balance. I don't have much to balance with. My fiance might say otherwise, because most of our topics do revolve around psychology. So he might say, okay, I guess you could have a bit of a problem. But still, I hope I keep that balance sort of also in the future when I do start a career as a psychologist in advance. So yeah.
You mentioned movies and books, and I was just wondering, again, maybe it's just me, but are you also more drawn then to either literature or even fiction that has something to do with either psychology or psychotherapy or other psycho stuff? Or do you deliberately try to separate this and say, no, I don't, I just want to read books about gardening and nothing about psychology? Deliberately just to separate this.
Today I have this luxury, but not in the 10 years of studying, because all my time was focused on reading psychology, psychotherapy related stuff, and this was hard. Yeah.
So there the balance was off.
I have a detox time now.
I think I'm searching for kind of a depth in whatever it is, but still something deep. Could be just I don't know what, but I think that's the most common sometimes I'm just watching YouTube videos about how to do these recipes, Indian complex recipes. I'm like, oh, interesting. Or just something very, so it could be about, food, just the beauty of the, I think, something that connects to the broad beauty of the world. And it's refreshing. It's kind of refreshing, I think. No, I'm not only into psychological movies, but my parents would say otherwise. So.
Do you do that deliberately? This beauty that you're looking for, is this sort of unconscious, or is it?
No, I'm searching for deep meanings in my life. Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I recognize that search for kind of something that you can try to decipher or think where there are layers. I do like it, but I find it too in like Dune or science fiction. It doesn't need to be a, let's say, psychological movie. So yeah, but one needs to be able to talk about it afterwards. If it's just the living, let's say that it's experiencing is insufficient. It needs to be, you need to be able to think about it and share it with someone, and that makes it valuable, really, for me, my experience.
That sounds sort of psychological. It's me. What about you, Dan?
I would say regarding the reading materials, as the books and journals and stuff, I don't have an issue reading non-psychology related stuff. However, when we're talking about movies, series, etc., documentaries, true crime, that's the only thing that Netflix recommends to me, to my top 10. So I do have an issue there.
I'm looking at the time a bit, and I'm wondering, the audience has been listening to you talk about many different aspects of your professional and personal journey, and I'm wondering if there's any questions from the audience at this moment. Not everybody at once, please.
Yeah, maybe I would like to ask maybe about some potential struggles that you've encountered on your path to what you're doing now. What did you struggle with most? I don't know, self-doubt, or I don't know, some challenges in the environment. I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
I would like a follow-up, and how did you overcome
Who wants to go first?
Not all at once.
I have several challenges that first, all of my romantic breakups were really harsh on me in my professional life, because it's kind of a topic that we meet a lot. And it's really hard for me while being heartbroken to have someone heartbroken in front of me, or to have someone very happy about it. Yeah, but this person is. This is hard. This is hard. And other stuff is about my my self-esteem is very fluctuant, and so when I feel that I failed in some ways into something, an objective that I put on myself, then it's even harder than to recover from it. I know it's a very general what I'm saying here, but those times, I think those phases that are the more challenging period for me. And it could be academic achievement that I failed, or it could be just personal goals. So, I will do more sports, or I will I don't know what. I think that's what. but also some challenges are sometimes just bring to the table without any notice. But I must say that I like it. That's something that I like about the job of a therapist. Yeah. There are some stuff you didn't know that you had to deal with, but you have to deal with it.
It's never boring.
Yeah, exactly. It's never never boring. And how I overcome it, it's definitely with supervision, personal therapy, sharing with friends, close ones, self-care. Yeah, enjoying being alone, fully alone. It's not easy, but I must say that it was something of a challenge for me. But now that I can be alone with myself, I think I can overcome more of those kind of challenges, issues. But it's a never-ending process, huh? And also there are life events that you don't expect to happen. Huh? But this is life.
Yeah. A bit different difficulties, but one challenge had been a negative personal therapy experience. Being in personal therapy, the first therapist was after a few weeks, months, let's say, I did not want to stay really there. That was a bit a challenge. The solution was then, of course, changing their personal therapist, but in order to get there, that's a difficult move. But I found someone else where I was was able to work with, and I was very worked out fine. So that was one challenge, definitely. And a certain period also toxic work environment with conflicts and stuff that didn't get resolved, and where there was also no support to resolve it. Let's say superiors who were not back in that period, or maybe hopefully now it's better, but back then there was little attention to that kind of toxic work environment, and it's a matter of sweating it out, letting it, and then at the end changing jobs. So I was lucky enough to be able to do that. It worked out fine, but it was a difficult period also, where you might start to wonder, maybe I should quit all of this. No.
For me, it was dealing with my anxiety. So what helped me was starting a mindfulness course. So at that time, I also started to study mindfulness, and so then after some years, I became also a mindfulness teacher. So this helped me a lot. So all the practice that comes with it helped me to deal better with anxiety. And then also during the study process, to find balance between studying and working with clients already, and coming here because I live in Italy, so it's all the time, back and forth, and having another job at the time, so, and having a family and everything. It was really, really stressful at times, and I think I was very close to burnout many times.
So detox, well deserved.
Yeah.
Kyle, what about you?
What comes to mind is maybe the experience that most of us students face with at some point, I guess, when someone realizes that you're studying psychology or another common field. And the thing is that they just open up, explain their issues, and then what's your advice? What can you tell me? And then you're put in this position where, first of all, you're not yet a professional. There's boundaries that you are not willing to cross. And just trying to explain to them that you are not trying not to help, but still it's not your place to help. And if they need, they can search for it somewhere else. But it's kind of a mixed feeling. When you want to help, you want to do something for them. And the best that you can do is to advise them to seek professional help. So that's the thing that I struggle most at times, because people do expect that you will give them some advice or something, or solve their issue just by saying that you study something. So
when this question about struggles was asked, I thought of the professional path, and you're a PhD student, you're beyond these final thesis and so on. You just graduated some time ago, and you're about to graduate, right? So I was wondering, this struggle in this professional path, maybe the same aspect, how did you maybe, if each of you maybe says a little bit about how you chose your topic. I listened to your presentation, and of course we all listened to your. I didn't get to hear Nina's because I was in other room with Hubert, but if you just maybe in a few sentences describe your topic and why you chose it, what drew you to it, and how did you manage to persist to come to the end, or how will you persist to come to the end in your case, to go a little bit in this professional area as well? Who would like to start?
The topic of the PhD, you mean?
Yeah,
Or-
maybe, yeah. For
Yeah.
you, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, for me it was a bit different. It was psychopathy that I worked on, actually. So I was got into the forensic field, and through a research project that was investigating the impact of therapeutic measures for offenders. And then from that, so it started with the first research project. Yeah, and then led to my PhD, which was then more specific than psychopathy. So yeah, why this? Have always been interested in forensic psychology, and ideally I would, and I'm still part of my research is the treatment of sexual offenders, for instance. Right, I've published a number of case studies on that topic, and sometimes in my clinical practice also work with different types of offenders as they come, or yeah, I find that incredibly interesting. Of course, the dynamics behind it, and
Were you also interested in case studies already at that time?
yeah.
Developed them?
Indeed, my first paper was a case study. In my PhD was a female psychopath, and so it started with case studies too. Because I always found it more useful. I did it then a statistical study with a sample of 100 inmates that I interviewed, and etc. But I found that let's say there was so much lost. You find correlations, but then if you use a bit different data analytic method, you find other findings, and so that kind of abstract choices into treating missing data makes such a difference. And also I did the interviews, I met all those people, and then you work with the numbers. I found it was they got so much meaning got lost. So I did a case study, and then also a paper with qualitative analysis of the interviews. And those, I think, were the most valuable contributions of my PhD. And then a number of statistical studies too, which were interesting, I'd say. But yeah, but so I always wanted to go to that, the encounter, the meeting, also with psychopaths and sex offenders, and really try to work with them. I talk to them, work with them. No.
Maybe we start with Kaya now.
Sure. Well, after my bachelor's degree in psychology, I started a student job in HR, and that's how it turned out into a permanent employment. And last year I presented a project promoting mental health at the workplace called Business That Cares. And then I started thinking that I will turn that into my master thesis. So I'm trying to research the fact if promoting mental health at workplace, and not only in newsletters or something, but actually promoting it. So with having other psychotherapists or psychologists on other, I don't know, phone lines or something to actually help the employees, affects the absenteeism of employees. So I assume it will lower it. And I also want to see how HR in different companies views promotion of mental health. Where's the stigma? Why don't more employers offer it to their employees? What's the reason? I mean, Slovenia is still very much behind the other parts of the world. So that's why I want to research in my master thesis.
So you're coming to that now?
Yeah.
Already researching?
I'm now currently contacting different companies, and I'm trying to find the ones that do have those programs that promote mental health. So I think that will be a struggle. Yeah, yeah. So that's the current problem that I'm facing right now. So an obstacle I hopefully overcome. So yeah.
You already have ideas how to overcome?
Yeah. I'm now searching for different programs, and they have like different companies on their websites promoting them, that they work with them. So that's one way to find out who offers those things. And then another is to go through HR colleagues from different companies and just like, hey, do you know someone from somewhere? So using different aspects to the problem.
You know about? Who'll be first?
You can.
Okay. Yes. So my theme was adoption, and what inspired me was an experience that I had during my my study years. So at that time, I was working at school for some years, and one of the students who I followed personally because of some troubles he had was adopted. So I really became close to him and to his family, because I was also involved in the multidisciplinary team sessions, because that's how they work in Italy. So teachers meet other professional figures and talk about what can help this child and so on. So I really became interested in that field, and that's how I came there. And also I found out that in Slovenia there is a really small number of adoptions. So I found it interesting to maybe add something new, something that probably can have a little value to. Yeah.
Was this something that motivated you to persist in the process of doing the masters and everything?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And also the wish to finish.
Important motivation, yeah.
Yeah.
What motivates you, Hubert?
First, I have an anecdote, because I was thinking about, and so way before my PhD, I had this internship in research when I was doing my master's, and first I was involved in a study that wasn't. The topic was interesting. It was about well-being in families, and but it was quantitative. I didn't decide to design. I was just there to recruit, and it was boring for me. But I had this opportunity to do a qualitative study, and I could choose a topic. I was like, yay! So it was my first research when I was kind of my own boss, and the topic was about how friendship can transform themselves into romantic relationships. It was kind of a friend zone study. It was really interesting, and I met couples separately, and they would explain the how it happened. I had the two sides of the story, and they didn't even know, and so I could even see what is the truth, because it's not it was different truth. And I realized at that moment, wow, this is so interesting. And first, because I could decide something that I was curious about, and also I could meet people that would talk about really deep stuff, and also I could see different, and I think this was the premise of all of my, actually the topic I'm studying now, how personal aspects could influence the professional development. And before this theme appears, I had two propositions. The first proposition was about mentalization, how mentalization, I'm not sure what was the question actually, but it was kind of how to maybe teach mentalization. I don't know, it was something like that. Then the second was about how does one therapist choose his orientation. It was kind of this idea of, well, every therapist is integrative, so, but why are they lying about it? And then that's actually it's really the grandfather of my my PhD thesis, but I didn't overcome it yet. So let's see what happened. So I don't know how to answer.
So this topic that you presented also with the reflexivity and so on. So did you also include yourself in the sample?
No.
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 If you would, what do you think would be your results?
Oh, interesting. I don't know. Wow, I never thought about that. That's a really good question. I guess what I would say is that some of you didn't saw my presentation. It is really okay. But I don't want to be out of context here. But I think that when I started to be a therapist, I was really in my head all the time when I was meeting the person. Too much in my head, actually. And I think that at some point, well, it was really interesting and good at some point, but some others, no. It was too intellectual. And I think that it's been, over the years, more and more, there was this shift, and I was more and more present, like really present. And the intellectual reflexivity was less there. There was more of a experiential reflexivity. This is the words I would use now. And the intellectual part, so reflection on action, so during supervision, courses, intervision, etc. There, the intellectual reflection would take place, and I think that that's where that's how I would answer your question about that.
That gives me a ton of sub questions which we're not gonna get to because of time. But I want to check where's the boss. How much time do we have left?
I think that's not about.
Always my problem.
Yeah.
For the second time today. But okay, my final question would be why I steered this conversation maybe more into your experiences and your also personal sort of this influence of person, because most of the audience are students or people who are still in this journey on the path of development. And connected to this, my final question would be, what would be some of your recommendations for them, for all of us in different maybe stages, from your own experience in personal and professional field, that you think could be beneficial for others as well? What did you learn? What was something that helped you persist to come to where you are, either almost graduated or being an academic or doing a PhD? What would be something that they can take home?
I have a great sentence from Oscar Wilde. It's be yourself, everyone else is already taken.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I would.
He stole your quote, right?
Yeah, indeed, in a sense, yes, because I was going to say something along those lines about following your interest, your passion, and working with that, relying on that, and not being, let's say, too much taken away by daily hassles or daily demands or superiors or supervisors, let's say, demands, or just to stay in touch and follow your own desire in your professional work. That's the prime motor of what will be driving you and will give also the satisfaction in the end. So in that sense.
Thank you. I think I needed to hear that. It sort of suited me and sort of poked me at the same time. I'm gonna deal with that in personal therapy. Nina?
Yeah, I think I can relate to what you said. I think what I found really helpful was always find something that drives my interest, that drives my passion inside this field. So always search for something more particular, maybe that drives you. It will be easier, I think. And also that it's okay to take pauses in this process, because it's a really long process, and I think it's crucial that we also listen to ourselves, and when life happens, things in life that demand our whole attention, it's okay to put everything on a pause, I think.
Thank you. What about you, Kaya?
Well, I'm right there with most of them, so I can only say we got this.
Right, maybe to conclude, since Miran is not with us, one thing that I thought of while we were talking is one thing he said in many different contexts is the ability to fail better. So to try and be prepared to fail, but try to learn something so the next time you fail, it's a little bit better. So that would be channeling Miran now. So thank you all for your sincerity, for all the nice anecdotes, for being you. Thank you.
Hvala vsem za lep dan, lep večer, poln doživeti. Lepo preživite še večer do konca. Želim vam vse dobro. Thank you again to our guests. We are so happy that you were here with us, that we can learn from you, and we hope that we'll see you soon. Again, thank you. Hvala.